People, deluded, I'm back again. Smash the like button, people. Subscribe, do all of that stuff, and appreciative to you lot, whether you're new here or a long-term supporter. Now, let's see what the transfer business is saying where Arsenal's concerned. Owing to the fact that it's another season where silverware evades us, we've got 2 games left. I think we end the season at Southampton away, which they kept a clean sheet against City. Be careful, people. And then obviously our last home game is against Newcastle. So we are now trying to put our cap on to thinking about next season and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be filtered around the transfer market, people. Now, before we get into that, allegedly Fabrizio Romano has said Arsenal have offered Chelsea 1.25 million for England under 18 goalkeeper Freddie Bernal. That's a Spanish last name. He might have Spanish in him. Decent keeper from what I've seen. Chelsea rejected the bid, clear on the position as they want to keep Bernal. Several other clubs remain interested. Now, is this a market opportunity? In fact, first things first, do we see him as somebody that could progress all the way to the first team? Do we see this as a market opportunity? Do we see this as someone that you bring in for he might become a top keeper, which great, you're Arsenal's number one, or you become a player that it goes from 1.25 million quid to 10, 20, a little profit. I don't know. We've got quite a lot of goalies. There might be a lot of reshuffling. You know, it seems like we're quite heavy on signing English keepers, man. We've obviously got Tommy Setford, who's probably going to depart on loan. There's probably a bit of chopping and changing at under 18s and 21s level because of people going on loan, people probably not being old enough to play for the 18s. Obviously, there's a lot of goalkeepers on the books. You get where I'm going. So, but fundamentally, Chelsea have rejected the bid. Doesn't seem like there's a way of getting around compensation. Chelsea want to keep him. Don't know if it would make sense for him to sign for Arsenal. Of course, there's many reasons to want to play for a club like Chelsea or a club like Arsenal, but the pathway, if you bring in Garcia in goal, if you bring in David Raya, they're the 2 ones in the first team immediately in front of you. You'd imagine we get a third choice keeper. Last season, we was linked with Dan Bentley of Wolves. Maybe he comes in, that's another one. Or maybe one of the younger keepers step up and come but the third choice keeper, which obviously affects it. We all know only one goalie is going to play, people. So it's a bit interesting. Do you lot think we need a striker? Would you lot take Gonçalo Ramos? Forgive me from any mispronunciations. Court offside are reporting Arsenal, Aston Villa, Juventus, Manchester United, and Napoli, as well as Newcastle, all considering a move to sign the PSG striker. We're seeing a false 9 in Dembele ahead of him. He's seen as like a plan B, a squad option, gets more chances in the kind of dead rubber Liga games, and is a squad player, really and truly. Would you lot have him? I personally think it's easy to link Arsenal, well, half of these teams with a striker. Arsenal need a forward, United need a forward, Napoli are being linked with Jonathan David, who some of you lot want. They need a forward. Newcastle don't exactly need a forward because they got Isaac, but if he was to leave, they would. And maybe they need someone to replace Callum Wilson and make their squad stronger. Aston Villa sold John Duran. Ollie Watkins is still linked with our football club. Juventus probably need a forward owing to what Vlahovic is going at. So when you look at it, it's easy to say these clubs are linked with everyone and everyone's considering a move. And I don't doubt, maybe not first option or maybe not even 30th option, respectfully to him, but everything has to be on the table. He must have been considered at some level for all of these clubs, but we'll have to see. We've gone over the Freddie Bernal stuff from Fabrizio Romano. Apparently, he's got several suitors, and it might make sense to go to a club where the pathway is clearer, people. So yeah, apparently we're chasing him. We have Tommy Setford on the books, as we know, people. This England keeper is expected to be joining. Max Dolman's actually been named in the England under-17s Euro squad, in which we will be doing watch-alongs and things of that ilk, people. Again, we're still eager to land Juan Garcia. We're still linked with Athletic Bilbao's Nico Williams, Sporting Lisbon's Victor Gyökeres, and it seems like Zubamendi will be the first one through the door, people. Apparently, we're preparing, according to reports in Spain. I know Mikel Arteta is Spanish and we're signing Spanish players, but a club based in England, pardon me, a club based in England with trying to go for a player that plays for another club in England and a Swedish forward. Why is the initial reports coming out of Spain? And we all know, I do think Arsenal could put the 100-odd million pounds, maybe even 150 bid for Isaac, but we know that blows the budget out of the water and you'd only have one player. If there was a player you were to sacrifice your whole budget for, it would be someone like him. But again, I want to be proven wrong. You don't know how much of a fan I am of Isaac. If I was an Arsenal, well, I am an Arsenal fan, but if I'm an Arsenal fan, or if I was better yet a Newcastle fan, I'd be pissed off with Isaac's name just consistently being floated because we all know this is not happening. But in an attempt to humour you, we all know we're linked with Gyökeres and Sesko and people of that ilk. We know Eddie Howe and Newcastle want to keep Isaac. He's got 2-3 years left on his deal if they get Champions League, which is looking very unlikely that they don't. Big them up for that. I'd rather them get it than others. He's not going anywhere. But apparently, A Spanish outlet claims that Arsenal are preparing a bid worth 150 million euros. What's that? 120-ish, 130-ish for the 25-year-old, which would obviously make him the most expensive forward. The 27, he's got 27, he's 25, 26. He's got 27 goals in 41 appearances. That would be great, wouldn't it, people? Eddie Howe did say, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't sit and say what's going to happen. I can only say what my determination is, and it's to build a team, the best team possible, and to do that, you can't consistently lose your best players, which is true. I would love to be proven wrong. I don't think Isaac will be lining up with Zubamendi, Marino, and Odegaard and having that Real Sociedad reunion. Again, Bayern Munich apparently have triggered Nico Williams' release clause, according to reports in Spain. Zubamendi seen as a done deal, people. So, yeah, I think we can progress this, people. As I said, Berta is working on a deal to bring in a new striker, narrowing down his search to Victor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko. Almost every data team at major clubs rate Sesko as highly as possible. I rate him, but you have to use the eyes. There are 3 known Premier League clubs who believe the world is his oyster and that he could be in the bracket of the world's best strikers within 3 years. I think there's people that overrate Sesko or people that really don't rate him. I want Isaac. Gyökeres would tell me the club kind of want to win now, type of thing. I would not cry if we got Sesko. I know I'm dream chasing, but in an ideal world, you get your Gyökeres, that's your guy right now. You've got your Sesko in the mix. You've got your Nico Williams or Gittins or whoever the hell you want on the left-hand side. You've obviously got Saka. You've got Martinelli. You've got the option of Marino and Kai Havertz and Trossard, who's apparently going to sign a new deal. We keep hearing that around Trossard and Partey. You've got stronger attackers. Football's decided at both ends. We need the absolute priority is a number 9. I would say if it was up to me, a striker, a centre mid, they're the priorities, and then you feature in left wing. But normally Arsenal fans, we're accustomed to, for example, we know we might need a left winger and a striker, but we might only get one. And depending on, let me know if you could get a bad boy left winger and mimic the Liverpool model in that you got someone else up front who's not necessarily prolific, but you've got Saka, who would be our Salah, and a Mane, whoever that would be for us on the left-hand side, you do that, or you have a gunman number 9. So we're accustomed to, we need to get a couple of roles, but we know we're only going to act on one. I think the club have gone beyond that. I'm not expecting everything to be done, but I don't feel there's any scope anymore for, you need a left winger and a striker, but you're only getting one. You need to get both. If anything, I do think, not that you can afford to pass up on a left winger, but I think there's other priorities. But you get the point. You need a striker. You need a left winger. You need a centre mid, maybe 2. You need a couple of additions to the defensive unit, couple of goalies, maybe a left back, maybe a centre back that can play left back, maybe a right back, a right centre back that can play right back. Ideally, a Timber Tomiyasu kind of player. You get the point, people. And what could boost Arsenal's case to get Sesko, or maybe Xavi Simons, or any other players at this club? It seems like Openda's not linked with a move away from Leipzig. They've had a terrible season. They've clipped their manager not too long ago, and they will not be playing in the Champions League. So maybe that is cause for concern. Bayern Munich have agreed to trigger the 60 million euros release clause of Nico Williams and now need the race. Surely they got to sort out the futures of Sane, Kingsley Coleman, Gnabry before they do that. But to be fair, if you have Elise on the right, Harry Kane through the middle, Nico Williams on the left, and all the other supporting acts, it's crazy at Bayern, isn't it? We know we've been linked with Juan Garcia. Team News and Ticks, one of the more known ITKs, is saying, looking at Garcia, it's a bit of a difference at the club. Arteta loves him. However, Berta doesn't believe it's a good use of funds if they have to manage spending. It's not that Berta doesn't rate him. He just wants to allocate those funds elsewhere. I hear that sometimes you might have to pass up. This guy could be the best keeper in the world one day, or play for a top team, and we might think what's going on, but you can't have it all. And we need to make the budget spread. We need quality additions, and we need quantity. We need depth. Trossard, who I think arguably man of the match against Liverpool, we know and we've heard we're in advanced talks to get him to sign a new 4-year deal. 4 years, crazy, isn't it? Sources have told Football Insider negotiations are intensifying and all parties are increasingly confident of reaching an agreement. Big him up. We know Berta is going to be busy this summer. Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko are on the list, but it's still not certain. We all know another main objective, as well as bringing in Zubamendi, is sorting out the new contracts for William Saliba, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Magalhaes, and talks have allegedly taken place with all camps. Real Madrid have been linked with David Raya. I don't think anyone expects that to happen. A couple of clubs are being linked with Jakub Kiwior. Apparently, Marseille are considering a move to sign Jakub Kiwior. Now, has he shown that he could be given more opportunities? Do you think the manager will say, you know what, you're a bit more competition for Magalhaes than I thought? Although, despite the form and him taking his opportunity and him doing his thing at this moment in time, you could caveat that with, At the end of the day, the manager works with him, trains with him, he knows him and whatnot. And if he got I don't mind him staying and being a squad player and pushing, because I think we need depth. But what if Kivio's got a taste for playing at a high level, playing on a consistent basis? What if if Arsenal were to sell him? Because he seems like one of the only players, regardless of him coming into the first team right now and doing his thing, there's been a market there. Could you argue his stocks have never been higher in an Arsenal shirt than ever before? And I'm not saying it's the same, but it's like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. 1 minute he weren't playing, then he was playing. We were getting £30 million offers from Wolves and from Everton. We didn't sell him. And then you saw what happened there, people. I don't know. We have been linked with Semenyo and Brian Mbuemo, people. Apparently, United favour a move for Semenyo over Mbuemo. I want Mbuemo at the carpet. We've also been linked with Cunha. You've seen, check out my other videos, but apparently, while Man United are the front runners, his camp are holding talks with Arsenal and Newcastle. Semenyo's been linked with us, but then they sit there and say 70 million. I don't know. Leroy Sané is not satisfied with the new deal offered by Bayern Munich and could leave on a free transfer. Arsenal, Chelsea, and clubs in La Liga are all interested, says Sky Germany. So the Sané links ain't going anywhere. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City have all made contact over a blockbuster deal to sign Rodrigo. However, the player is waiting to speak with Xabi Alonso before making a decision on his future. So we're spending 150 million euros on his act. We're prepared to get Rodrigo. Zubimendi's in. Maybe the club are as serious as we thought. I did mention Kivio, and Juventus and Inter Milan both want to sign him this summer. Are they going to do the loans with a buy option? I think Kivio should. If it's a loan, it has to be an obligation. There's no buy option thing, if I'm honest with you. Arsenal have joined Chelsea in the pursuit for Rafa Leao. Arsenal are interested in Leao deal. Allegedly, people, Berta has began his work at Arsenal in the end of March, and he's apparently, some reports go as aggressive and say he's held talks with Rafa Leao, and that will go for him if the Nico Williams thing does not happen. We know we need to bring a left winger in. You know, Sterling, until on my life, until I saw Sterling's name there, I completely forgot he played for our club, at least for this year. Martinelli and Trossard have had good moments and bad moments, but over a 38-game calendar have shown they can't really pull their weight in terms of goals and assists. Crucially, though, Milan's stance is that they do not intend on selling Leao this summer. Friday reports, however, suggest that a surprise offer in the region of 100 million euros could be enough to get the ball rolling in negotiations with the Rossoneri. You've seen as low as 63.5 million. I've covered that in another video. Saturday morning, you would have seen Fabrizio Romano do his here we go for Martin Zubimendi, who's apparently verbally agreed a new long-term deal. And Arsenal are now following the steps to conclude that, and he stands to be the first one through the door in the summer, people. On Heidson, who are still linked with people, Arsenal are eager to strengthen and bring him in. Fabrizio Romano says Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea are pushing to complete Heinsohn deal by end of May. To be fair, there's aggressive reports to Real Madrid. The idea of the three main Premier League clubs involved in this story, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal, is to do the deal now as soon as possible. Now it means by the end of May, so it's too close to deal this month. Fair play. I mean, Liverpool, I don't know what's going on with the contract of Konate. Obviously, Van Dijk's great, but he's not going to be there forever. You could play there. Arsenal, we do have William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, but I think he can make a case of pushing them. Chelsea, it feels like you're nailed on to start because you've got Levi Cole who's going to play on the left. Fufana, Banashile, Axel Disasi's gone on loan. If I was Heinsohn, I could fancy I could get in there. Real Madrid, him being Dutch could also help Liverpool, but him being Dutch/Spanish could also help Real Madrid, and Real Madrid needs no help. Once Real Madrid come calling, very few players or managers are going to say no. Neither Bayern nor Real are ready to move for Heinsohn now, with the Bundesliga side needing to sell players. Bayern need to sell. They're just playing Football Manager. And the Liga giants needing to tie up other loose ends. Bayern like Heusen, but they need to sell a defender in order to make it happen. They need to generate money. Real Madrid at the moment are busy. Carlo Ancelotti's exit, Xabi Alonso coming in as the new coach. Real Madrid are working on this process before entering into players now. Fair play. So we're going to have to see how that one develops, people. Once again, Manchester United's pursuit of Cunha has taken a twist which involves Arsenal. Allegedly, what has been said here, as I've said, his camp are set to hold talks with the likes of Arsenal and Newcastle. Is that because he genuinely wants to see what? No, he's actually keen to sign for United, Newcastle, and Arsenal in their own right. Is his agent going to leverage interest with, if he genuinely wants to go to Man United? Are they going to sit there and say to Man United, boy, Newcastle and Arsenal are trying to get him, throw a couple more zeros on that contract? We're in that point where there's a lot of games being played. I'm having Cunha tomorrow, but I don't know if it's going to happen. We've heard Saliba. Well, Arsenal want to enter contract talks with William Saliba. We're linked with Kevin De Bruyne. Still, apparently, Mikel Arteta is pushing for that. Surely not with the wages. Arteta would like to sign Isaac. but we have no chance of that. There's interest in Gyökeres, and actually Hugo Ekitike has been dropped here by Miguel Delaney, and apparently Ollie Watkins is not off the radar. I mean, could you get a Gyökeres, a Sesko, and a Ollie Watkins? I'm being greedy, I know. Sesko's release clause, if we remember, people, now exceeds 80 million. Leipzig, apologies, do not want to let the striker leave for anything less. Without the clause, Leipzig would definitely demand a larger sum, but would be flexible on the conditions, people. And Arsenal are now aware they badly need to match Bukayo Saka's productivity on the other flank. Nico Williams, who has a buyout clause thought to be in the region of 50 million, is the ideal option, but his wages would be high. In contrast to a higher fee for Semenyo, Arsenal would also like Mbeumo. So we're getting linked with everyone. We're going to win everything if we get all these players in: Semenyo, Mbappe, Semenyo, Mbeumo. I'd love Mbappe, Rodrigo, Isaac, Gyökeres, Rafael, bare things up, De Bruyne, Wonderkids, bare things are going on.